Hello, everyone. Welcome to C-Suite Talks. We speak with industry leaders, introducing you to some of the most interesting people and businesses today. We are focused on women, money, and power, as well as diversity in all areas. Welcome to C-Suite Talks. I'm Dianne Gubin, co-CEO of C-Suite, along with
Beth Hilbing, co-CEO of C-Suite as well. And today we're speaking with Sheryl Brinkley. Sheryl is an accomplished executive leadership and career coach with more than 20 years of experience across leading Fortune 100 companies. She's worked with companies such as JB Morgan Chase, Cisco Systems, PepsiCo, and Pacific Gas and Electric Company. She is the founder and CEO of ITM Coaching Next Level and has advanced credentials from the Hudson Institute, the International Coaching Federation, and the UC Berkeley Haas Women's Executive Leadership Program. Many great accomplishments there for sure. Sheryl is dedicated to empowering professionals, especially women, to lead with confidence, resilience, and authenticity. Her coaching draws on deep expertise in emotional intelligence and positive intelligence, and she is renowned for her ability to build trust and inspire transformational growth in leaders she serves. Please welcome Sheryl Brinkley to our C-Suite podcast today. Yay!
welcome, Sheryl.
Hello,
And,
hello. It's so great to be here.
and Sheryl also is a C-Suite member and helps with our San Francisco chapter. Yay, Sheryl.
Thank you.
So, Sheryl, let's talk about this idea of unlocking the power of owning one's professional identity. What is most important to be mindful of? And I'm very interested in this
Me
topic
too.
for sure.
Yeah, no, this is a big topic because I work with a lot of professionals who are in transition. And so this is a recurring thing, this thing about identity. And when people are experiencing job loss or life transitions such as marriages, divorces, and career pivots, trying to get into those next levels of leadership, and when they're there, when they're sitting in that C-suite or that E-suite, there's a lot of pressures that are on people, especially when we're talking about how do you maintain your identity in the midst of all of that. And so what we find sometimes is that there is this moments in our careers where we're like, well, who am I? Right? Who am I? And maintaining a strong sense of your own professional identity is going to require intentional effort to do. Okay. And that is the thing that's going to keep us grounded and anchored in our core values and in our identity. Now, if we don't take the time to really anchor ourselves at the different junctures of our careers, we run the risk of other people ascribing an identity to us, right? And
Oh, true.
a lot of times it's based on perception. It's not the full story, right? And so it's important for individuals to make sure that they have a great sense of what that value proposition is, because you know everything that you've done over the course of your working career, and no one's going to tell your story like you.
Sometimes it's hard to tell your own story, right? So, do you find that's particularly a difficult issue for women?
Yes.
How can we move around that?
Now, yeah. So what I find with women in particular, it's a fluid thing, right? Because we wear so many hats, right? And we're, sometimes partners, sometimes we're single women, right? Sometimes we are supporting family members. I'm in that sandwich generation and providing that parental support. And sometimes they're parents, and we're friends, we're leaders, we're a lot of things. And so for us women, I'll just say, a lot of times we're so outwardly focused on the other people in our orbits that we're not always thinking about putting our own oxygen masks on, if you will, and really taking stock and inventory as to who we are and what we really are delivering. And so this being all things to all people, I feel is a little bit of a thing where we really get sucked into the vortex, and we're really pouring out at a faster rate than we're being poured into, and pedaling as fast as we can in all the spaces. And especially being in all of these different orbits, sometimes we find it difficult to say no. We're taking on a lot, right? And so, out of responsibility, we feel like there's this accountability that we need to have for all of the people that are in our orbits. And hey, we don't often pause to ask ourselves the question, what's important to me, right? And so, when life quakes happen, when things happen that rock our boat, that's when we are kind of reeling a lot of times. And so, that's really the time to realign, and get really grounded in who we are and pausing into asking those questions that are going to really help us to amplify our value proposition. But I'll tell you, we can have a whole session unpacking each of these things, right? But
Right, exactly. I've never heard the term life quake
Yeah,
before.
me
I thought
neither.
that
I
was
wrote
really
that
good.
down. Lifequake.
yeah,
Because it
but
happens like every day.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And so one of the things that I will say is that the real power move here, really, the real power move and confidence builder is really being able to decouple our professional brands from the companies that we work with. We sometimes, blend our identities with these amazing companies that we work for. And so we're not our job title, and we're definitely not the company that we work for. And so as our roles continue to evolve, as we continue to grow, we're going to be adding more value to ourselves, and it's important that we're ready to articulate what that is at all times. We have to be our own publicist a lot of times, and being able to tell people what we do in a way that helps them connect to our value.
Wow.
Awesome.
That is a lot. So is there a strategy behind this in terms of how to own your professional identity? Like how do you actually do that except like almost by default, right?
I'm so glad you asked, Dianne. So I'm going to quote Gwyneth Paltrow, okay? Remember when she was separating from her husband years ago, and she was saying that you used the term conscious uncoupling?
Yes.
So I'm going to call it conscious uncoupling when it comes to separating our identities from these companies that we work for and really standing in a grounded place about who we are. Okay. Now I'll just tell a little bit of a story about myself. I remember years ago, describing my work to another professional in some other space. And I was using this we language, like, we're doing this and we're doing that and so on and so forth. And I thought about that later, and I said, you know what? This isn't really a we thing here. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I don't know that I really took the time to really, talk about how I was specifically adding value, but I was kind of putting it all on this brand that I was working, for, and it's a we thing. And I said, okay, so I need to do some conscious uncoupling and really get clear about that value identity for myself, because let's just be honest here. The company is always going to do what's in the best interest for the company. And let me say that it's fantastic when companies are creating these spaces that are inclusive in nature and they want us to feel this belonging. However, we don't want to get so, oversubscribed to this belonging and all for the company that we forget that we are our own brands, and we can stand in that power and understand that this is a business relationship, that I bring my value, I bring my talent, I bring this delivery to this equation here and exchange for compensation. That is the nature of this relationship, right? So it's really
Right.
not a we, it's a partnership of my brand and the brand that I work for. And in exchange for compensation, I'm bringing that value to them. And so as you're asking me about, well, how do we get there? That's really the thing that we want to unpack next when we delve into this conversation.
So keep talking.
So,
Tell us. Yeah.
yeah. So if how does owning your brand identity empower us? Because I think too, a lot of women underestimate themselves. They don't talk enough about their roles and their history. I know when I did my board bio and I thought about everything that I've done through my career, I hardly ever talk about it. I never talk about it to my family because I think they don't really care what I do. And then when you meet, I was at a networking event last night and these men were all about, oh, everything they've done. And the women would just introduce themselves and their title. They never talked about what they did.
Yeah. So Beth, you really raised a big one here. And that's when we talk about the difference in genders and how men are, well, I'd say very assertive about sharing their value proposition. And I feel like with women, we don't talk about ourselves. And I feel like sometimes in the way that we're socialized, that kind of comes through. But listen, we are working in a male paradigm, and a lot of us are. I think Beth, you work in kind of the aerospace
IT,
industry,
yeah,
right? And so,
yeah.
and I grew up in a lot of male environments in the roles that I have had. And so I will just say that sometimes we have to take pages out of these books and do a little self-promotion. There's nothing wrong with it. It's really the how we do it, right? And really taking the time to say, well, what is it that I am doing to bring value on a day-to-day basis? And one of the things that I will just drop here is that a lot of times women are so in the moment of doing the work delivery, checking off boxes because we're so good at that, and not taking a moment after things are delivered to really quantify exactly what we did, to really do a little bit of a diary and a postmortem on what we did specifically to bring that value. And so when we fail to take a moment to celebrate our accomplishments, to relish in our accomplishments, to say, hey, I really did that thing, right? And this is the scope of work that I was responsible for, and so on and so forth. I feel like these are kind of like those initial steps that we can take to really document these things, because what will happen is we move on from the company, or the company moves on from us, or however this happens. A lot of this stuff is on that laptop.
Oh, that's true.
You know what I mean? And so we have to really have an offline diary where we're kind of tracking these accomplishments in real time, because that's when it's fresh. Because the more time elapses, we're going to get fuzzy about the details. And listen, I'm working with professionals in transition a great deal. And so now it's like, okay, when we're working on a resume, it's like, well, what did I do? How did I, how much was that budget? It's like now they're trying to really struggle to remember these details. And so my thing is, we've got to do this intentionally in real time, and no one's going to brag about you better than yourself. Okay. So that part.
Yeah, that's true. I know at work, I do weekly status and I
Yeah.
keep an Excel spreadsheet of all the tasks and so forth, year after year after year. And you made a good point about making sure I extract that. So I have that with me because it is all on my laptop for work.
Mhm.
But I do it to make it easy for the end of the year stuff. And,
Yeah,
like I just went in for a new position. And so it helps a lot with that. So, anyways.
absolutely.
As organized as Beth, who is amazing. So Cheryl, you would just say like get a Word document and like just keep it updated. Like,
Yeah. I mean, make it easy. In fact, like Beth just said, I mean, we're already, well, in the context of our, what we call it, the process that we do, the performance management process, right? We're kind of documenting these things so that we can share that business results, and so that we can kind of capture that for getting that credit in the midst of that work delivery. But I'm just saying, you're already doing it. I don't think you have to do anything extra. I'm just saying, how do you keep a copy in your back pocket for yourself? That's what I'm advocating for here.
fabulous.
Yeah.
So, Cheryl, you were the founder, you worked for these very large companies. What made you decide to transition and start your own coaching? And then, if someone wants to engage and work with you, what is the best way to do that? I'm just curious. For
Okay.
those
Well,
two things.
yeah. So I would just say that in the course of my working, there's this moment, at least I had this moment of epiphany, where it's like, there are things about what I do as a leader that really light me up. And that was coaching, mentoring, and developing my team members and really helping them not only deliver great, amazing work for the role that they were in with me now, but also understanding that potential and helping them to aspire beyond that role and helping them craft their plans to get there. I feel like the organization wins when people are continuing to grow and that talent remains within that organization. That really was the impetus to put me on the path to explore, how do I get credentialed in this? Because this is where I feel my superpower resides. And all the clients that I work with even now, it's like, you know what, this is amazing what you're doing for me and how you're helping me. And so that was the thing that put me on that path in order to really grow my acumen forward and ultimately start my own practice. And I was doing that initially alongside my corporate career, and took a leap of faith a few years ago to do it 100%, to make these services much more accessible for people who may want to invest in something like this to help them in their professional development.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. So, what is a key takeaway that you'd want listeners to walk away with?
Well, start with understanding and appreciating that you are your own brand entity and really taking the time to understand what makes you you. What would other people say about you as you do work with them? Collecting those receipts in real time, as we've discussed, and also any accolades that people have given you. Those accolades really are sharing back with you about what that value is that they are experiencing from you, because we've got the brand speaking about it themselves, and that's you being able to have your 30-second elevator ready at all times. But then that testimonial that comes back that says, you really made an impact in these ways, especially when it comes from those leaders that are above you and those peers that are working beside you. And you can use that to really help you to say, I really feel like this is where my secret sauce lies, right? And then really be able to track that roll over roll as you continue to ascend. Even when you're at the senior most rung of leadership, it's like understanding what that value is, what my marketability is, and being able to test it if you need to, and making decisions that are in line with your aspirational vision, and being able to put that to the test when you need to do so. When someone says, hey, I think you might be great for this role. And it's like, well, I wasn't even looking, but if it's time to leap, if it's time to take that opportunity, then that's your signal to bet on your brand.
That's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Sheryl. Sheryl Brinkley, the CEO of ITM Coaching Next Level. And Sheryl, how does anybody find you? What's the best way?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. Now, listen, if you're seeing this podcast on YouTube, please DM me at LinkedIn and let me know that you saw it and what stood out for you. And if you're thinking about, hey, I may want to sharpen my leadership acumen in some ways, and I've been thinking about working with a coach and I wasn't sure how to get started, that's a great way to connect with me. Also, for organizations that might need someone to come in and help support their leadership base or their high potentials, I'm all for that. And my website address is itmcoachingnextlevel.com. You can schedule an appointment with me there to have a free consultation to have more discussion about that.
Thank you for that generous offer. Thank you, Sheryl. Beth, may I thank our sponsors?
Yes. So thank you so much to Con Resnick, City National Bank, Cigna Health, Breakthrough Beverage, Uncle Nearest, who just hosted our summit, which was fabulous, and C-Suite Executive Search. If you're hiring, reach out to C-Suite, and we have a great expanded network to help you with that. Thank you for listening. Hit the subscribe button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcast, YouTube, and reach out to Sheryl. Leave us a review, follow us on social media, and you can send me an email at beth@csweet.org, and check out all the events and things we do on the C-Suite website, www.csweet.org. And thank you so much, Sheryl, for being a C-Suite member and being on the committee, and for your wonderful coaching practice that you lead.
Thank you to our listeners.
Thank you, ladies. Thanks for the opportunity.